Thank you all for coming out, and appreciate the short notice. We realized that every moment we delay on signing these 12 pieces of legislation is a day delayed on getting us to where we want to go. And of course, you all recognize that we have been patient for arguably a generation. At least if you're 30 years and younger, you can go back to 1974 when the Navy ceased operations down here at the shipyard, and then formally in 1988 when they shuttered everything down. And it took about 30 years until 2004 where we finally got that first conveyance agreement for Parcel A and began to see some progress here out on the shipyard. Of course, that progress is modest compared to the progress we are marking today. That progress that includes the extraordinary effort of all of those you see behind me and countless others that made this happen over the course of these 30-plus long years. We are blessed to have had visionary leadership in this city, members of the Board of Supervisors that have come and gone, mayors that have come and gone, and legislative leaders in Sacramento, as well as the federal government, that have long recognized the extraordinary opportunity and the principal obligation that we have to anchor the fate and future of this city in the southeast sector and to fulfill the promises that we have made for a generation to the people that live in the southeast sector. And we're a big part of building this city for a generation that watched that promise go away when the Navy decided to exit the city and those jobs began to go with them. So we're here in that stead, in that light of celebration, marking this extraordinary milestone. What exactly are we doing? Well, we're talking about an economic stimulus, the likes of which this city has never seen. Some $11 billion on full build-out of an increased tax base, some $6.4 to $6.6 billion in economic activity, what I would refer to as gross city product as opposed to gross domestic product. We're talking about 12,000 direct jobs, upwards of 13,000 indirect jobs, all told 25,000 jobs will be impacted through the build-out of this project. We're talking about some 700 plus, you can argue 900 plus thousand square feet of retail space that will be developed out there, a hotel that no one seems to have remembered, some 220 unit hotel. You've got 10,000 seat arena or amphitheater. Again, things that people may not have even written about or talked about, in addition to a 69,000 seat stadium for the San Francisco 49ers when they eventually reconcile their own, well, I'll be nice. We're talking about 10,500 housing units, 32% of them below market. We're talking about $83 million of commitments for community benefits that include very formal and very detailed commitments for workforce training, commitments in terms of public health in the southeast sector, commitments for down payment assistance. This is one of the largest community benefits packages that I've seen in our city in its history, and this is something that's been codified through the good work of many, many agencies. And I just want to point out, because a lot of thanks are due, and then I'll ask Supervisor Maxwell and President Chu and then Michael Cohen to come up here in a moment. I want to thank members of the MTA Board, the Port Commission, the Recreation and Parks Commission, the Redevelopment Agency, as well as the Planning Commission, all that supported and stewarded this process. 6 specific actions that were taken by those bodies before these legislative items came in front of the Board of Supervisors. And of course, to this board, for their stewardship and support of the process, as well as the old board, because it was the old Board of Supervisors that set forth the framework, the conceptual framework that allowed us to move forward with Proposition G, which was competing with that other proposition that basically changed the land use, pulled us away from the old Prop D and Prop F, and created a framework that allowed us to go to the state of California, working with Mark Leno, to get some state law changes for more parks and open space. And by the way, this will provide for the Crissy Field in the southeast sector of San Francisco, over 300 acres of parks and open space, the Bay Trail connecting our waterfront to the rest of the community, and also provide a framework to finally, Kofi as a top priority, and I appreciate Kofi Bonner and all the work he's done in this, to rebuild Alice Griffin, the old Double Rock public housing site, which was one of the cornerstones. There's Reverend Walker. I hear his voice. I don't see him, but he knows this well. And one of the commitments that was made early on as a framework, a foundation for any discussion about this plan. There are PACs, CACs, ACCs. There's every acronym under the sun, and I would be remiss if I didn't just quickly just give I guess if Sarah Palin could use the word cojones in relationship to the president, I could say I'm going to give a shout out, which is hardly as, well, anyway, it's a little more eloquent, to the community. And I want to just read some names because they deserve a tremendous amount of credit. And I heard Reverend Walker, and I just want to thank Pastor Aurelius Walker for all his strong support throughout this process. I don't know if Angelo King is here. If Angelo's here, thank you for all your stewardship and hard work. Veronica Honeycutt, who I think is here, and Linda Richardson and Amos Brown. And to all the folks from SFOP, you know who you are. There are thousands of you. And to the ACC, sort of the new acorn, and that's nothing to be ashamed of, and their great work. To members of the PAC and the members of our Citizens Advisory Committee for sticking this out for as long as you have. To the residents of Alice Griffin, who were there, as I said, from day one, that have been patient throughout. Thank you. I want to thank our friends in labor. There were some heroes here that really stepped up. Mike Casey really stepped up when we needed him. To Manny Flores and his great work and stewardship. Thank you, Manny. Where'd you go? You were here. There he is. To Mike Terrio and the building and constructions trade, and Connie Ford, and to Tim Paulson, who wished he could have been here. Thank you, Tim, for your stewardship and support of all of this. And let me close. I'm sorry to be long-winded. I've said this. My staff knows this. I said there's nothing more important. You know, the first department head meeting I had when I was mayor was up there at West Point and Middle Point. It was literally hours after I was sworn in as mayor. And I said we needed to commit ourselves. And to be back up when Sophie Maxwell a few months ago, when we're rebuilding those 100-view public housing sites, and we're going to roll out in a couple months our Hope SF plan that included Alice Griffin's, but includes Potrero and Sunnydale projects. And we've got real plans, real money, real progress is being made. This is a point of personal privilege. We've really consumed ourselves and committed ourselves to this project and getting this done against a lot of hurdles and a lot of naysayers. But I want to just thank two people in particular. The predicate, the framework, that foundation that I spoke of Alice Griffin, that sits on top of the biggest impediment to this development, and that's what the Navy left behind. And what that has meant to a community that has been devastated by breast cancer, cervical cancer rates, prostate cancer rates, asthma rates that are 2 to 4 times the state and federal average. What is the biggest story that deserves more, I think, consideration than damn anything else that we've done in the last number of years in the city is the extraordinary amount of money, not rhetoric, not hot air, not promise, but money that has come from the federal government because of Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. This is big. I don't think people fully understand this. We have received more money than all of the other shipyards in America combined to clean up this shipyard. And I won't get ahead of myself, but we've got some good news coming up, but I'll just leave it at that. Because Good enough never is. But here are the numbers. $714 million, almost $750 million. 519, I'm just proud of this, since I've become mayor. And I cannot impress upon you more. This is our top priority. Everyone says, what do you do when you go back to Washington, D.C.? Every year, our number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 priority is getting this money. And these guys have stepped up, Speaker Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, in ways that you can't fully appreciate until you really are out there and you know the story. They have done everything to leverage this with their colleagues, and they've done everything to make this happen. So, again, the big round of applause to those two for their work. Now it is my privilege to introduce a number of supervisors. Supervisor Sophie Maxwell first. No one has lived through this, the good and the bad. Every election, she had the naysayers out there saying it can't be done, wouldn't be done, shouldn't be done. All the folks that were arguing, I thought, for the status quo. It's amazing. I always said that the windshield is a heck of a lot bigger than the rear view mirror. She was always looking out as opposed to looking back. Yeah. And I want to just congratulate Supervisor Maxwell, because I know she came up. No one's filled with more pride and more fulfillment, and no one deserves to be than Supervisor Sophie Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But let me just say that all that belongs to the community as well. Yes, this has been a long time coming, but it's been worth all the time it took to get us here. Because along the way, what have we done? We've united a community. We've united the old with the new coming in. We had meetings where we had African Americans and Asians and Latinos. We had all of what Bayview truly is. And then, on top of that, the ice cream on the cake, our whole city had an opportunity to weigh in on that vision. They had an opportunity to say, yes, we want to see a new Bayview, and they did overwhelmingly, overwhelmingly. And so for me, this has been a wonderful process. Yes, it's been horrible. I mean, I've been almost recalled twice, but you know, all that is about democracy, and it's about those people also having a voice and helping out in the process, because through their concerns, we made the project better. And so to all those people who have helped, and I also have to thank certainly the mayor, but our entire city, because it's a city that people have a lot of faith in. And I want to thank Lennar, and I know that's the boogeyman, but I still want to thank Lennar for hanging in there with us and for understanding, and seeing the value in our city, that people want to live here and they want to be around us. And I certainly want to thank all the mayors and my colleagues on the board who made some tough decisions for them, but they did it. And all the people who helped them make that decision, who helped support them in making that decision, I want to thank them. And I want to thank my staff. I want to thank John Lau and Alice Guidry for also hanging in there. And you know, when they say, it takes a village, well, this has taken a nation. This has taken a nation. It's taken local electeds, it's taken state electeds, and it's taken our federal electeds. And so I want to thank all the people who have made this happen. This is just the beginning. We are continuing this process, and we're going to have to continue looking out after it. Oh, and certainly all the people at the Department of Public Health. The Department of Public Health. They've been through it, and they hung in there, and we have to give them their props, because what was number one was not Lennar, was not the money, it was about the health of the public and the health of people in Bayview, and the people in the city. So again, thank you all for all that you've done. We have to continue, we have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant. Yes, we've got a good plan on head, but we all have to be there to make sure it happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just can't help myself, but there was one nation that did not help. But I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry, but speak the truth. I guess I hit a chord. I want to thank Supervisor Carmen Chu and Supervisor Bevan Dufty for their steadfast support and for taking the time to be here, both of you. And to Supervisor Eric Marr as well for standing tall and helping support this process. And representing the board and in his capacity as president, who stewarded, so a lot of 6-5 votes, so it was critical in this. And I see Rose Pack and others here that really spoke to the importance of this effort and the community benefits, and to Supervisor Chu for helping enhance those community benefits and helping us get across the finish line when it was needed the most. At peril of running the 90-yard dash, we crossed this finish line. Supervisor David Chu.
How are we doing? How are we feeling today? I wanted to start by asking folks to raise your hand if you had a question or a concern that this might not happen. How many of you wonder that at some point? All I'm going to say with the Reverend behind me is amen, 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 all right? I think the mayor and Supervisor Sophie Maxwell have said 99% of what needs to be said today, but again, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I want to thank all of you. We have had obviously some difficult times and some difficult meetings in recent weeks and recent years, but we were able to get it over the finish line. And thank you to Supervisor Maxwell. As I often say, I think she could be a poster child for extending term limits by one more term. What do you think, Sophie? I want to thank my colleagues for all the work they put into this. I want to obviously thank the mayor for shepherding this in his tenure. I need to single out Michael Cohen. Where is Michael Cohen? If you haven't noticed, Michael's white hair's got a little whiter in that time. I'm a little worried about his cigarette habit that is exacerbated.
He was 6'4" when he started.
We both keep getting shorter, so there are many, really as I look around the room, every single one of you was a part of making this happen. And of course, as Supervisor Maxwell mentioned, it takes a village. Thank you for being part of the amazing village that is San Francisco. Yeah. Today obviously is the end of one chapter, but it is the beginning of another. What we are looking forward to is a 21st century Hunters Point, a 21st century Bayview, and a 21st century San Francisco. I'm honored to be part of a Board of Supervisors that had some role in this. But as we know, we do have many steps to continue. And I just want to say on behalf of the board, I know all of us are 1,000% committed to making sure that we got this over this particular 100-yard line. We got a couple more, and we're going to get it done. So thank you for being here.
Thank you as well to all the commissioners that are here from redevelopment and planning. And, to David's point about a 21st century city, our hope and expectation, and it seems appropriate considering the bookmark that is the past in Southeast sector, particularly at the Shipyard, is to make this a mecca for green tech, to really represent tomorrow's jobs and the sustainable economy. The hope is to do what UCSF did to Mission Bay, to use the UN Global Compact Center to create that anchor for this new redevelopment. And that's why there are over 2.5 million square feet of R&D space in the green tech sector. And it seems appropriate to talk about a brownfield like Mission Bay was, and how we can redevelop it, redesign it, and realign it to a future that is more sustainable and more prosperous and much more healthy. Look, the person that has done, and I say this with admiration to every single person that has participated over the course of 30 years in this project, but there's no one that's put, I think, more time and energy in terms of the nuances, the details, the technical aspects, that has worked the CACs, those PACs, the FF pulpit, all those things, the federal government, mayor after mayor, supervisor after supervisor, staff after staff. No one understands what Parcel B means in version versus Parcel D or G or D2. By the way, those are the next conveyance for Lennar. Lennar understands those better than the person that President Chu just mentioned. And I'll tell you, we simply would not be here today had it not been for his commitment to stick around to get here and to allow us to be here today. And that is the head of the Economic Development Office in San Francisco, Michael Cohen.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm actually pretty amazed that we're here today. And it is true, Fred, I won't ascribe to anything about prior height, but I did have a full head of black hair. And even today, and Supervisor Maxwell and I talked about this on lots of occasions, I'm such a worrier. And so even today, I sat there with my head down, waiting for that vote to make sure it was done. But believe it or not, for everybody who's worked on this, it's really done. And I'm incredibly proud of this. I do believe it is the biggest, the hardest, and the most important development project in San Francisco's modern history. And I don't think we're going to see anything like this again in our lifetimes. The three characteristics that just constantly reinforce themselves was this almost ferocious intensity of the community participation, the thoughtfulness that went into that community participation, and the dedication that went into that community participation. There are PAC and CAC members who have served for more than 15 years. They took a lot of heat. They stood up in meetings. They did the right thing. It wasn't always easy, but they have the great satisfaction of knowing that they stood up and were counted in a really, really important way. And the same thing is true, that there was this incredible, almost ferocious intensity, this incredible thoughtfulness, and this incredible dedication from the city staff who've worked on this. A project this big and this complex takes literally almost every department in the city. There are way too many people to thank, but there are a few that I just feel compelled to call out. One from my staff, Tiffany Bohe, Andrea. So Tiffany Bohe, Andrea Bruss, and Wells Lawson, they're the ones. They're the ones who really did the hard project management. It was shocking to me when we'd look at these schedules of how many hearings we had to have, how many documents that we had to get done. It was just an incredible process of wrestling that to the ground. I also want to acknowledge Amy Brunel from the Department of Public Health. I don't know how we do this, but she should automatically get an MFAC award next year, in my opinion. Amy's one of the few people who's worked on this project longer than I have, more intensely than I have. And she has, like so many other people in this room, had to stand up to a lot of heat when issues about dust came up, when issues about the cleanup came up. And Amy always did the right thing. She just spoke the truth, relied on science, and over time we were able. Reverend Walker once said, "Truth has wings but no feet." Did I get that right?
Truth has wings.
A lie has no.
But a lie has no feet to stand on.
Yes. Thank you. And the point was, we stood there. over and over again and just relied on the science and relied on the facts. And that wasn't always easy, and so Amy, thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge that we were wonderfully well represented by the City Attorney's Office, a whole host of city attorneys who worked on this, two in particular, Charles Sullivan and Elaine Warren, who I can't tell you how many evenings, how many weekends that they toiled hard under a hard deadline. And what I've said to everybody is no matter what, you can be very proud of the fact that we did something very important that was very hard, and we did it very well. And so thank you very much.
All right. So there we have it. As Reverend Walker reminds us, God's delays are not God's denials. And now we have the opportunity to sign these 12 pieces of legislation. And then Kofi is going to go out this afternoon and not go to a bar. He's going to go to a bank to get the financing and get this thing done so we can get people to work, so we can fulfill our promises. And we've made a lot of promises here today, and it is incumbent, as everyone said, this is the beginning now of the next and most important phase is to fulfill the promises, but that starts with this legislation being signed. 12 cases. This is crazy. Yeah, get it. This. Yeah, come on, Sophie. Get it. Yeah, everyone, you guys squeeze around.
Let's go see. Cozy. We're checking penmanship.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to do that. I'll keep it.
Michael, where are you? Right here. There's the second one. Almost done.
Almost done.
I'll have to read this one. Already did. Good. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming out.